Hey boys and girls, it's Mrs. Warren. I'm going to read you this story called Miss Rumphius by Barbara Cooney. It's one of my favorites. Miss Rumphius. One of the things I love about this book are these beautiful, beautiful flowers. So I want you to be listening about them a little bit. The Lupin lady lives in a small house overlooking the sea. In between the rocks around her house grow blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. The Lupin lady is little and old, but she has not always been that way. I know. She is my great aunt, and she told me so. Once upon a time, she was a little girl named Alice, who lived in a city by the sea. From the front stoop, she could see the wharves and the bristling mass of tall ships. Many years ago, her grandfather had come to America on a large sailing ship. Now he worked in the shop at the bottom of the house, making figureheads for the prows. Prows means the front of the ship, and carving Indians out of wood to put in the front of cigar store. For Alice's grandfather was an artist. He painted pictures too of sailing ships and places across the sea. When he was very busy, Alice helped him put in the skies. So here's a picture of Alice painting the skies for her grandfather. In the evening, Alice sat on her grandfather's knee and listened to his stories of faraway places. When he had finished, Alice would say, "When I grow up, I want to go to faraway places, and when I grow up, I too will live beside the sea." "That is all very well, little Alice," said her grandfather, "but there's a third thing that you must do." "What is that?" asked Alice. "You must do something to make the world more beautiful," said her grandfather. "All right," said Alice, but she did not know what that could be. In the meantime, Alice got up and washed her face and ate her porridge for breakfast. She went to school and came home and did her homework, and pretty soon she was all grown up. Here's Alice, all grown up. Then my great aunt Alice set out to do the 3 things that she had told her grandfather she was going to do. She left home and she went to live in another city far from the sea and the salt air. There she worked in a library, dusting books and keeping them from getting mixed up, and helping people find the ones they wanted. Some of the books told her about faraway places. People called her Miss Rumphius. Now, sometimes she went to the conservatory in the middle of the park. When she stepped inside on a wintry day, the warm, moist air wrapped itself around her, and the sweet smell of jasmine filled her nose. "This is almost like a tropical isle," said Miss Rumphius, "but not quite. We have a conservatory at Como Park that you can visit with lots of plants inside. It's like a rainforest inside." Now it looks like she's doing some traveling. Let's see what it says. So Miss Rumphius went to a real tropical island where people kept cockatoos and monkeys as pets. She walked along beaches, picking up beautiful shells. One day she met Bappa Raja, king of a fishing village. "You must be tired," he said. "Come into my house and rest." So Miss Rumphius went in and met the Bappa Raja's wife. The Bappa Raja himself fetched a green coconut and cut a slice off the top so Miss Rumphius could drink the coconut water inside. But before she left, the Bappa Raja gave her a beautiful mother-of-pearl shell, on which he had painted a bird of paradise, in the words, "You will always remain in my heart. You will always remain in mine too," said Miss Rumphius. My great aunt, Miss Alice Rumphius, climbed tall mountains where the snow never melted. She went through jungles and across deserts. She saw lions playing and kangaroos jumping, and everywhere she made friends she would never forget. Finally, she came to the land of the lotus eaters, and there, getting off a camel, she hurt her back. "What a foolish thing to do," said Miss Rumphius. "Well, I have certainly seen faraway places. Maybe it's time to find my place by the sea." And it was, and she did. So here's the picture of her riding camels. Here's her mountain climbing. Here's her place by the sea. From the porch of her new house, Miss Rumphius watched the sun come up. She watched it across the heavens and sparkle on the water, and she saw it set in glory in the evening. She started a little garden among the rocks that surrounded her house. She planted a few flower seeds in the stony ground. Miss Rumphius was almost perfectly happy. "But there's still one more thing I have to do," she said. "I have to do something to make the world a more beautiful place." "But what? The world already is pretty nice," she thought, looking out over the ocean. Wonder what she's gonna do. The next spring, Miss Rumphius was not very well. Her back was bothering her again, and she had to stay in bed most of the time. The flowers she had planted the summer before had come up and bloomed. In spite of the stony ground, she could see them from her bedroom window, blue and purple and rose-colored. "Lupins," said Miss Rumphius with satisfaction. "I have always loved the lupins the best. I wish I could plant more seeds this summer so I could have still more beautiful flowers next year." But she was not able to. So here is the picture of the pretty blue and rose-colored flowers that she's looking at. After a hard winter, spring came. Miss Rumphius was feeling much better. Now she could take a walk again. One afternoon, she started to go up and over the hill where she had not been in a long time. "I didn't believe my eyes," she cried, when she got to the top, for there on the other side of the hill was a large patch of blue and purple and rose-colored lupins. "It was the wind," she said, As she knelt in delight, it was the wind that brought the seeds from my garden here, and the birds must have helped. Then Miss Rumphius had a wonderful idea. Wonder what her idea is. Here's a picture by the sea. She hurried home and got out her seed catalogs. She went off to the very best seed house for 5 bushels of lupin seed. All that summer, Miss Rumphius, her pockets full of seeds, wandered over fields and headlands, sowing lupins. Now, sowing means to plant. That's another word, not sewing like sewing a shirt. She scattered seeds along the highways and down the country lanes. She flung handfuls of them around the schoolhouse and in back of the church. She tossed them into hollows and along stone walls. Her back didn't hurt her any more at all. Now some people call her that crazy old lady. There she goes. The next spring, there was lupin everywhere. Fields and hillsides were covered with the blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. They bloomed along the highways and down the lanes. Bright patches lay around the schoolhouse and in back of the church. Down in the hollows and along the stone walls grew the beautiful flowers. Miss Rumphius had done it, the third thing, the most difficult thing of all. Here's the pictures. You can see the flowers everywhere. My great aunt Alice Rumphius is very old now. Her hair is very white. Every year there are more and more lupin. Now they call her the Lupin Lady. Sometimes my friends stand with me outside her gate, curious to see the old lady who planted the fields of lupins. When she invited us in, they come slowly. They think she is the oldest woman in the world. Often she tells us stories of faraway places. When I grow up, I tell her, I too will go to faraway places and come home to live by the sea. That is all very, very well, little Alice, says my aunt, but there is a third thing that you must do. What's that? I asked. You must do something to make the world more beautiful. All right, she said. Here's the picture. But I don't know yet what that can be. So that little girl now was told to go off and do the most beautiful thing. And she has to decide what it is for her that she's going to do. I love this story because Mrs. Warren really loves flowers. And I feel like going out and making the world more beautiful is really important. I think that each of you can find something that you think is important, that you can help the world to be a more beautiful place.